You type a long message, delete it, rewrite it, and search for the perfect words that will finally make them understand. But deep inside, you already know the truth. They are not confused, they have simply chosen their version of you. Put the message down. Allah knows your heart, and your peace is worth more than another explanation that will change nothing. 1. Not everyone is trying to understand you. One of the hardest truths to accept is that not everyone who asks for an explanation genuinely wants to understand you. Some people listen with an open heart because they care about the truth, but others listen only to find another sentence they can twist, question, or use against you. You may explain your intentions carefully, repeat the complete story, and choose the kindest words, yet they will continue believing whatever supports the opinion they have already formed. This does not always mean that you explained yourself badly. Sometimes it simply means that the other person was never prepared to see you fairly. Learn to recognize the difference between a misunderstanding that can be repaired and a judgment that someone is determined to protect. Speak sincerely when a relationship deserves clarity, but do not sacrifice your dignity trying to force understanding into a closed heart. Allah knows what you meant, what you endured, and what truly happened, even when others only know a small part of the story. Your responsibility is to remain honest, correct your mistakes when necessary, and protect your character. You do not have to spend your life proving your goodness to people who have already chosen to see you incorrectly. Remain consistent, walk with patience, and allow your actions over time to say what endless explanations never could. 2. Stop defending yourself to people who judge you unfairly. When someone judges you unfairly, your first instinct may be to defend yourself immediately, correct every accusation and make them recognize their mistake. You may believe that if you explain the situation perfectly, they will finally see your heart and change their opinion. But when a person is committed to judging you, every answer can become the beginning of another argument. The more desperately you defend yourself, the more control you give their opinion over your emotions. This does not mean you should remain silent when serious harm, injustice, or responsibility requires the truth to be spoken. It means you must learn when an explanation is necessary and when it is only draining your peace. State the truth calmly, accept responsibility for any genuine mistake, and then refuse to spend hours defending yourself against assumptions you cannot control. Allah knows the complete reality, including the parts nobody witnessed and the intentions nobody can see. Human judgment is often based on incomplete information, personal emotions, or one moment taken out of context. But Allah's knowledge is perfect. Do not allow an unfair opinion to make you question the person you are becoming. Continue acting with honesty, patience, and good character. In time, consistency will defend you more powerfully than anger ever could. 3. Silence is not weakness. Many people mistake silence for defeat because they believe the loudest person must be the strongest. But real strength is often revealed when you have every opportunity to argue and still choose not to lose your character. Silence does not mean that you have no answer, that the other person is correct, or that you are afraid to speak. Sometimes it means you understand that certain conversations are no longer searching for truth. They are only searching for conflict. Continuing such an argument will not create clarity. It will only disturb your heart, awaken your anger, and make you say things you may later regret. Wisdom is knowing when your voice can improve a situation and when your silence will protect you from making it worse. You do not need to respond to every insult, defend yourself against every rumor, or prove your intelligence in every disagreement. When you remain calm, step away with dignity, and trust Allah with what you cannot control, you demonstrate a strength that shouting can never produce. Silence also gives time for emotions to settle and truth to reveal itself without being forced. Speak when justice, responsibility, or reconciliation requires your words, but never speak merely because your ego cannot tolerate being misunderstood. Sometimes the most powerful answer is a peaceful heart, disciplined behavior, and a life that continues moving forward without seeking permission from those who misjudged you. 4. Let people carry their own opinions. One of the greatest forms of emotional freedom is accepting that you cannot control the opinion every person has about you. No matter how sincerely you live, some people will admire you, some will misunderstand you, and others may criticize you without knowing anything about the battles you have fought. If you make it your responsibility to correct every false impression, you will spend your entire life trying to manage thoughts that were never under your control. You will constantly wonder what people are saying, how they interpreted your actions, and whether they approve of the choices you have made. Slowly, their opinions will begin occupying the space in your heart that should belong to peace, purpose, and remembrance of Allah. People rarely see your complete story. They may judge one decision without knowing the pressure surrounding it, remember one mistake while ignoring years of good character, or form an opinion based on something another person told them. Some will see your silence and call it arrogance, while others will see the same silence and call it maturity. Some will interpret your kindness as weakness, while others will consider it strength. If you attempt to satisfy every interpretation, you will become trapped, because people often expect completely opposite things from you. The version of yourself that pleases one person may disappoint another. So building your identity around public approval guarantees exhaustion. Let people carry their own opinions, because every opinion does not deserve a place inside your heart. Their thoughts belong to them, but your response remains your responsibility. You can choose to answer with anger, chase them for acceptance, or remain grounded in what you know to be true. Emotional maturity begins when you stop treating every negative opinion as an emergency. Someone misunderstanding you does not automatically mean that you must abandon your peace and rush to defend yourself. Sometimes there is nothing useful to correct because the person has already chosen what they want to believe. Allow them to hold that belief while you continue living according to your values. This does not mean becoming careless about your behavior or refusing to accept sincere advice. A strong believer remains humble enough to examine criticism honestly. When someone points out a genuine mistake, do not hide behind the words, "I do not care what people think." Listen carefully, take responsibility, apologize when necessary, and improve what needs to be improved. But learn to separate helpful correction from destructive judgment. Helpful correction guides you toward better character, while destructive judgment only makes you feel that you must prove your worth. One helps you grow, the other keeps you emotionally imprisoned. Wisdom is knowing which voice deserves reflection and which voice should be released. Before reacting to someone's opinion, pause and ask yourself whether there is any truth in it. If there is truth, take the lesson without carrying the humiliation. If there is no truth, do not carry the accusation. You are not required to accept every label people place upon you. Someone calling you selfish does not make you selfish, because you finally established a healthy boundary. Someone calling you distant does not make you cruel, because you stepped away from a harmful environment. Someone accusing you of changing does not mean your growth is wrong. Sometimes people become uncomfortable when you are no longer available for the behavior you once tolerated. Remember that Allah sees what human beings cannot see. People notice the final decision, but Allah knows the sleepless nights that came before it. They hear the words you spoke, but Allah knows the pain you were trying to control while speaking them. They may question your intentions, but Allah knows whether your heart was sincere. This awareness should bring you calmness, not pride. You do not need to present your complete emotional history before every person who questions you. When you know that Allah understands the truth fully, the need to be perfectly understood by people begins to lose its power. The opinions people hold about you are also temporary. Someone may criticize you today and respect you later when time reveals what they could not understand in the moment. Another person may praise you today and become disappointed tomorrow because you refuse to fulfill an unreasonable expectation. If your peace rises and falls with their changing reactions, your heart will never feel stable. Human approval is unpredictable, and depending upon it is like building your home on moving ground. You need a foundation stronger than applause, praise, criticism, or rejection. That foundation comes from knowing your principles, correcting your faults, strengthening your relationship with Allah, and continuing to behave with integrity even when nobody celebrates you. Stop checking whether everyone noticed your goodness. Stop replaying conversations and imagining the perfect answer you should have given. Stop visiting places, messages, or social media pages simply to discover what people might be saying about you. Every time you do this, you hand them another moment of your life. Your time and emotional energy are valuable trusts. Use them to strengthen your faith, care for the people who genuinely love you, work toward meaningful goals, and heal the parts of yourself that still depend on outside validation. You cannot prevent people from speaking, but you can prevent their words from becoming the voice that controls your life. Allow your consistent character to speak gradually. You do not need to announce that you are kind, sincere, or trustworthy. Live those qualities repeatedly. Those who are fair will eventually recognize them, and those determined to misunderstand you may never recognize them at all. Either way, you remain free because your goodness was never performed to earn their applause. It was chosen because you wanted to live with dignity and please Allah. When your intentions become clear, you stop needing immediate recognition for every good thing you do. Let people carry the opinions they created, the assumptions they protected, and the stories they chose to believe. You have already carried enough. Carry your responsibilities, your lessons, your faith, and the character you are building. But do not carry every judgment that strangers, relatives, friends, or disappointed people place upon you. Their assumptions belong to them. Your peace belongs to you. Protect that peace by accepting what you cannot control, correcting what you genuinely did wrong, and walking forward without repeatedly looking behind you for permission. The moment you stop trying to live inside everyone else's mind, you finally become free to live the life Allah has placed in your hands. 5. Seek Allah's approval above people's acceptance. The moment you stop making human approval the measure of your worth, your heart begins to experience a freedom that people can neither give nor take away. For years, you may have adjusted your words, hidden your feelings, ignored your boundaries, and accepted treatment that hurt you simply because you were afraid of disappointing someone. You wanted to be considered kind, loyal, respectful, or good, so you kept explaining yourself even when you had done nothing wrong. But when your peace depends on being accepted by everyone, you gradually stop living according to truth and begin performing according to expectation. You become so busy protecting the image others have of you that you lose connection with the person Allah is calling you to become. People's approval is unstable because people themselves are constantly changing. Someone may praise you when your choices benefit them and criticize you when you begin protecting your own well-being. They may call you generous while you keep giving, then call you selfish the first time you say no. They may admire your patience while it allows them to avoid responsibility, then accuse you of changing when you finally speak honestly. If your heart depends on their praise, their disappointment will always feel like a personal failure. You will begin believing that setting a boundary is cruelty, walking away is betrayal, and choosing peace is selfishness. This is how the desire to be accepted can quietly turn into emotional captivity. Seeking Allah's approval changes the direction of your life because it gives you a standard greater than people's reactions. Instead of asking, will they like me if I do this? You begin asking, is this honest, responsible, and pleasing to Allah? Instead of wondering whether everyone understands your decision, you examine whether your intention is sincere. This does not mean that you become harsh, careless, or indifferent toward others. Islam teaches good character, compassion, justice, and respect, but none of these qualities require you to surrender your conscience to human opinion. You can be kind without becoming controlled, respectful without becoming silent before injustice, and loving without abandoning the limits that protect your faith and dignity. There is an important difference between caring about people and living for their acceptance. Caring means you consider how your actions affect others. Listen when you may have caused harm and correct yourself with humility. Living for acceptance means you betray your principles whenever someone becomes unhappy with you. Caring makes your character better, while approval seeking makes your identity weaker. A sincere believer should remain open to advice, but advice must be weighed with wisdom. Not every disappointed reaction means you made the wrong decision, and not every compliment means you are walking in the right direction. Sometimes people applaud choices that are damaging you, and sometimes they criticize the very boundary that is helping you heal. When Allah's approval becomes your priority, your intentions become more important than your image. You stop needing everyone to witness your goodness because you know that Allah sees what is done quietly. You no longer feel desperate to announce every sacrifice, explain every kind action, or remind people how much you have done for them. You begin doing good because it is right, not because you want gratitude. If people appreciate it, you remain thankful. If they overlook it, your goodness does not become meaningless. An action performed sincerely still has value even when nobody praises it, while an action performed only for attention can leave the heart empty even when everyone applauds. This way of living also gives you courage when you are misunderstood. You may make a responsible decision that others cannot immediately understand. You may leave an environment that was damaging your faith, refuse to participate in something wrong, or distance yourself from a relationship that repeatedly destroys your peace. People who only see the outside may judge you without knowing what led to that moment. If you depend on their acceptance, you may return to what harmed you simply to repair your image. But when you remember that Allah knows the complete story, you can remain calm, examine your intention honestly, and continue forward without begging everyone to approve. However, seeking Allah's approval must never become an excuse for refusing accountability. It is easy for a person to claim that only Allah can judge them while ignoring the harm they have caused. True sincerity makes you more honest with yourself, not less. Ask whether pride is hiding behind your silence, whether anger is controlling your decision, or whether you owe someone a sincere apology. If you were wrong, admitting it does not reduce your dignity, it strengthens your character. Allah knows not only what others did to you, but also what you did in response. Therefore, protect yourself from injustice without becoming unjust, and defend your peace without using faith as a shield against necessary correction. A powerful habit is to examine your intention before important actions. Ask yourself whether you would still make the same choice if nobody praised you, noticed you, or agreed with you. Would you still help that person if your kindness remained unseen? Would you still maintain your values if following them made you unpopular? Would you still walk away from what is harmful if others accused you of being difficult? These questions reveal who is truly directing your life. When the answer is Allah, your actions become steadier because they are no longer controlled by applause, criticism, attention, or rejection. You must also accept that choosing what is right will sometimes disappoint people. There will be moments when you cannot preserve both your principles and someone else's preferred version of you. You may have to say no without presenting a long defense. You may have to remain silent when people expect an argument. You may have to choose distance when they demand access. Disappointing someone is not automatically the same as wronging them. People can feel upset simply because they can no longer control the decision. Treat their feelings with compassion, but do not confuse their discomfort with proof that you have failed. The need for acceptance often begins with fear. Fear of being abandoned, criticized, excluded, or spoken about. But what is the value of belonging somewhere that requires you to lose yourself? What is the value of keeping a relationship that demands constant explanations before you are treated fairly? If someone only accepts the version of you that remains quiet, endlessly available, and easy to control, they are not accepting your complete humanity. You do not need to become rude or bitter toward them. You simply need enough faith and self-respect to stop purchasing temporary acceptance with your inner peace. When criticism comes, do not allow it to become your identity. Listen calmly, take whatever truth it contains, and leave behind whatever is unfair. People's words can reveal something you need to improve, but they cannot determine your entire worth. One mistake does not erase every good quality within you. And one person's rejection does not mean you are rejected by Allah. Continue making sincere repentance, correcting your conduct, and growing in character. Your goal is not to appear flawless before people. It is to remain honest before Allah and willing to become better. As your relationship with Allah becomes stronger, you stop chasing people for the emotional security only faith can provide. Compliments no longer make you feel invincible, and criticism no longer destroys you completely. You remain grateful when people appreciate you, but you do not become addicted to their appreciation. You feel pain when someone misunderstands you, but you do not allow that pain to control every decision. Your heart becomes balanced because it is attached to something more dependable than changing human reactions. This balance will transform the way you explain yourself. You will still communicate when clarity can protect a relationship, correct a mistake, or prevent genuine harm. But you will no longer speak from desperation. You will not beg someone to recognize your goodness, repeat the same truth to a closed heart, or destroy your dignity trying to win an argument. You will say what is necessary with calmness and then leave the outcome to Allah. Whether people accept your explanation or reject it, you will know that you fulfilled your responsibility without surrendering your peace. At the end of your life, the opinions people carried about you will not be the measure of who you truly were. What will matter is the sincerity of your heart, the choices you made when nobody was watching, the way you treated others, and whether you returned to Allah when you failed. Do not waste the life you have been given trying to become acceptable to every person you meet. It is an impossible task and it will leave you exhausted. Become truthful, humble, disciplined and compassionate. Let your character improve, let your intentions become purer, and let your heart become less dependent on applause. Seek Allah's approval above people's acceptance, and you will no longer need to explain every chapter of your life to those who only read one page. You will understand that peace does not come from controlling what everyone thinks. It comes from knowing why you acted, correcting yourself where necessary, and trusting Allah with what remains misunderstood. Let people praise you or criticize you according to what they see, but never allow their changing opinions to become the compass of your life. Walk with sincerity, protect your dignity, and keep becoming the person Allah wants you to be. When your heart knows who it is trying to please, the noise of the world becomes quieter, and the freedom you once searched for in human approval finally begins within you. Before you leave, remember this: you were never created to spend your life standing in the courtroom of other people's opinions, constantly defending your heart before those who have already chosen their verdict. Speak the truth when it can bring clarity. Apologize when you are wrong and correct whatever needs to be corrected, but never sacrifice your peace trying to force someone to understand what they are determined to misunderstand. Allah knows every intention you could not explain, every pain you carried silently, and every part of the story people never saw. Let that knowledge settle your heart. You do not need to win every argument, answer every accusation, or be accepted by everyone. Sometimes walking away quietly is not losing, it is choosing dignity over drama and faith over approval. From this moment forward, stop begging people to see your worth. Let your character speak, let time reveal the truth, and let Allah handle what remains beyond your control. If this reminder reached your heart, share it with someone who is exhausted from explaining themselves, and subscribe to Success with Barakah for more reminders that strengthen your faith and protect your peace. May Allah free your heart from the need for human approval and grant you the courage to walk forward with sincerity, patience, and unshakable peace.